Do that. Like, all right, we got about 30 seconds and we're going to go ahead and get started.
Can you mute it so we can?
Oh, I can't mute it. I can turn it down.
I mean, so they can't hear us.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not addressing the group, please mute your phones.
Okay.
You saw that medicine, huh?
The medicine, no.
I had drops out.
Okay.
To have it pretty right there.
All right, we're still getting some noise here, guys. All right, Wally, it's yours. If you want to go ahead and share your screen, and we'll go. But before we do that, let's do this. Let's go ahead and do some introductions for everybody, so that the new folks on here get to hopefully see if somebody will share their screens here or share their pictures or video. Who's on the call here? I'm Pat Frey with Home for Good at the United Way, and your HMIS lead for the continuum. So welcome, and I'm going to call out folks as I see them on my screen. So Kathy, you're next.
Hey, I'm Kathy at Home for Good. I am part of 211 and doing the initial intake on the clients whenever they contact 211 via online.
Thank you, Kathy. Make sure you put your name in the chat box. I see you there, Jamie Lee, that you and Ginger don't have a camera. Okay, Drew, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
I'm Drew Johnson. I'm a case manager at Safe House Ministries.
Welcome, Drew. Okay, Ms. Barney, you're next. You got to unmute.
Sorry. Hey, I'm Barney. I'm a case manager at Safe House Ministries.
All right, Miss Tiffany, you're next. We'll skip you and come back. Miss Tony, you're next.
Tony Harmon with the Phoenix City Housing Authority.
All right, thank you, Tony. Miss Gloria. We can't hear you, Miss Gloria, if you're talking. Well, I'll do the intro for you. That's Gloria Lambden from the Salvation Army. Crystal, you're next. Okay, that would be Crystal Feliciano with Open Door. Pam Jones. Everybody's having audio issues or what? Pam Jones with Shelter Plus Care, which is part of New Horizons Behavioral Health. Wally, you're going to introduce yourself last. Miss Jamie Lee Pierce.
Hi, I'm Jamie Lee Pierce. I am the new Director of Connections here at the Safe House.
Okay, I have here Paul Parker.
Director of Operations at Safe House Ministries.
Matt Reed.
Hey, this is Matt Reed. I'm a case manager for Grace House.
All right, and Sam. Sam Lewis is also at Safe House. Tiffany, it's your turn.
Yay. Hey, I'm Tiffany. I'm not sure what we're doing, introducing ourselves.
You're just doing an introduction, who you are.
Tiffany Cole, Program Manager at the House Time.
Thank you. Did I leave anybody off that's here? Oh, there's the guys from Home for Good. Hey, guys.
Hi, my name is Charles Jeffries, case manager with United Way.
Eric McClure, case manager with United Way.
Laura,
Yes, I'm Laura Kyle with New Horizons Shelter Plus Financial Operations.
okay, Pam Jones is having, author of Shelter Plus Care, is having audio issues. Thank you for that, Pam. Did I leave anybody off before we get moving on and let
Yes,
Wally
you
introduce
did.
himself?
It's Ginger Thomas at the manager of connections at Safe House Ministries.
Hey, Ginger.
Hey, Miss Pat.
All right, Wally, it's yours, my friend. Take it away.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Like Pat said, my name is Wally. I'm Wally Lugo. I'm with Ecovia, with those that provide you client track. I do have a video off just because I'm having some bandwidth issues here. So hopefully that'll help. Not having to stream the video. But that being said, I am here to facilitate a little bit of information regarding your HMIS system as it pertains to the changes to the data standards, the 2022 HMIS data standards update, as well as. I'm sorry, was there someone trying to say something? I don't know that if everybody's on mute. Okay.
Please go ahead and mute if you're not talking directly to Wally.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and begin unless there's something else we want to say, Pat.
No, sir, this is your show right now. We'll jump in at the end.
All right, not a problem. So like I said, first I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the updates that were done with the data standards. The changes took effect and you should have already started to see them as of October 1st of this year. And anything that you see in the 22 standards will supersede any other standards. So for those of you who are familiar with the previous standards, just make sure to reference the 2022 data standards whenever you have questions about those. There were some changes to the system logic in of itself. So the relationship to head of household, the system will not allow you to have more than one head of household during enrollment, as well as the housing move-in date is going to be, is going to be recorded once. And then if you need to, if they are addicted or something happens, you're going to need to start new enrollment and record it again. For more information on that, you can ask us after, because that is something that is a little bit involved. And also when
Wally, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you say that about the housing move-in date one more time? Because there was a little bit of interruption. I want to make sure everybody heard it.
Oh, sure. So the housing move-in date is to be recorded once per enrollment. So when you have an enrollment and the client moves in, you record the housing move-in date. If for whatever reason they move out of that housing and there is a gap in housing, you would need to create a new enrollment. And if you need more information on that, I would recommend reaching out to us after this training. The income and sources and cash benefits when a person turns 18, ages into adulthood, has to be updated in Client Track and HMIS as of their entry date. So if someone is 16 when they move into a permanent housing program per se, and then they turn 18, we need the information completed as of when they entered the program at 16. There may be information that needs to be updated as well for now the client's 18, but we will need that entry information. Otherwise, it will come up as data quality issues. So universal data elements. One of the first things that changed is within the race category. In the race category, it's mainly updates to the labels, not to the logic. So they added indigenous to the American Indian, Alaskan Native, or indigenous. Added American Asian American. I apologize. So it's Asian or Asian American. Added African. So now it's Black African American or African. And we removed other. From Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, So now it simply reads Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. The ethnicity option also had an update from simply saying Hispanic or Latino or non-Hispanic Latino to now being more inclusive and adding Latino, Latina, or Latinx to better identify those in the community. The gender field had the most changes, where in prior standards it was a drop-down single select. It is now a multi-select, where trans female and trans male responses were replaced with transgender. Gender non-conforming was replaced with a gender that is not singularly male or female, and questioning was added as a field. I will state that questioning is not necessarily a response that the client doesn't know or refuses. Questioning is a gender category in of itself. So just keep in mind that all of these universal data elements are client reported as well. And now we're moving forward to
Hey, Wally.
Yes.
Hey, Wally, I'm sorry, I couldn't hit unmute real quick enough.
okay.
So if we can go back one slide, please, and let's go over this really just a little bit more. So Laura, you're going sort of in my direction with your question in the chat box here. What is the recommended or best practice for asking this question? Meaning, do we say, are you female, male, gender, not singular, this, that, and the other, transgender questioning? How do we ask these questions? And
the way that the gender question is recommended to be asked is just, what is your gender?
Okay.
And then take the client's response as they answer you. If they say, what do you mean? It's like, do you identify as, and then just read the list. And again, it's not a singular response necessarily. They could respond as male and female. They could respond as transgender questioning. They could respond in any of those 5 categories, singularly or in combination.
Right, absolutely. Thank you for that, Why? And if I can ask one more question about that, or make a statement to see if you will you agree or disagree. Do we ask the question the same way each time?
Yes, typically what is recommended is, like I said, is to just ask the question as, what is your gender? And if the client doesn't understand or respond something that is not on this list, you can then clarify and read the list. Clarify by saying, from these, do you identify as one or more of these?
Okay, and thank you for that, because that goes to what we've been talking about, guys, when we're doing enrollments and things like that, or when we're working any of our processes. If we do it the same way each time, your data is going to be much more consistent, and you're going to be comparing apples to apples. Number one. Number two, there gets to be a routine to it, and even if it may not be completely correct, it's easier to change it if you do it the same way every time than if you do it this way or that way or this way or that way. I'll hush now, Wally.
It's okay. So now we're getting into the program specific data elements. These are more of the elements that have to pertain to the programs themselves. And there were a few changes that were made in the mental health disorder and substance use disorder. Oh, and also I forgot to mention, these numbers that are on the slides refer to the numbers in the data dictionary or in the data standards manual, so that if you need to reference them, that's how you'll find them the easiest. So mental health disorder and substance use disorder, they were changed from what you can see here, that they say abuse and simply mental health, to change to be a little more basic and say alcohol use disorder, drug use disorder, and mental health disorder. I will also note that client track does divide substance use disorder into alcohol and drug categories. So it's a combination of those two that will report together to give you substance use disorder reporting. In the coordinated entry events, there is a coordinated entry event of referral to other PH project resource opening, which was updated to be more specific to actually say emergency assistance or flex fund or furniture assistance. Emergency housing vouchers are now their own category, or housing stability voucher. These are typically defined by your community as to what exactly they refer to. So if you have any questions, I would defer those to Pat. There were some items that were also updated that had pertained directly to COC funded projects, including a well-being assessment for permanent supportive housing projects. Again, this is required at project start, project exit, and annual assessments for those COC funded permanent supportive housing projects. It is not required if you're not COC funded, though it wouldn't be harmful to collect information as well if you're able. As also the inclusion for PSH of moving on assistance. Now, these are things that are for, like it says here, for the head of household, and since they are services, it would be as they're provided to COC funded permanent supportive housing clients. Is this one? Yeah, this slide is an update to the COC Yhgp project, which is collected at start and end exit of the project. And this is for the youth education status assessment. And when a client responds that they're not currently enrolled in school, we're now asking what's the highest level completed that they did complete, since they're not enrolled at the moment. And also the categories for currently not enrolled but attending regularly, and currently enrolled and attending regularly. Now we are just making sure that we're collecting what were they going towards when not attending regularly any longer. General health status, this is also updated and being included with permanent supportive housing projects that are COC funded. This is asking information on exactly what it sounds like, their general health status. The categories are good, very good, excellent, things of that nature. And again, this is required for COC funded permanent supportive housing projects at start, annual assessment, and exit. There were some updates done to HOPWA as well. This element here has been updated to include medical or dental assistance from Ryan White, in addition to capturing the HIV/AIDS assistance and ADAP. This was updated to now, instead of just collecting the information from clients that present with HIV or AIDS, that this is now collected for all households, not only clients funded. So now it's collected for all household members in a HOPWA program. Sorry, my computer lagged a little bit. So this is a new element, the antiviral. This assessment is new and is to be collected for all household members with HIV/AIDS reported. Again, this is for HOPWA funded programs, and it affects emergency shelter, transitional housing, permanent supportive services only. So basically all the category, all the project types funded by HOPWA, and it's collected at start, exit, and any updates made to the client file. There are also some updates done to SSVF and VA funded projects. The, excuse me, the data standards restructured the V7 question, HP targeting criteria. It is a, it has new updated questions as well as scoring criteria. At the time that this presentation was made, it was under construction in ClientTrack, but has now been completed and it's in the system, and it does calculate the score. There were updates also done to RI questions. R10, which is pregnancy status, is now being asked for all household members. Before it was only female household, head of household and female adults. Now it's head of household and all adults in the household. For R13, it's really just a update on wording, same as with.
Hey, Wally,
Yes.
if we can just go back really quickly to the pregnancy.
Yes.
Can you reiterate again? That's going to be asked of every adult in the household.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
And this is also in conjunction with the changes in the gender field. So
Yes.
regardless of how the client identifies, the RI programs are now required to ask this question of all adults.
Got it.
So that's all for updates done to the data standards for 2022. These are links to where you can find the information in way more detail. And excuse me, as well as access to the different guides and tools for HMIS. And if you have any questions, I was told to put Pat's name on here.
Oh, thanks,
so
Wally.
you can contact Pat.
Okay.
And if you have any questions.
Yeah, let's, if we have any questions, so Laura was asking a question. We've been going back and forth on this. If a client refuses a question in an enrollment, will it set up a data quality error? And yes, it will. However, that's going to happen from time to time. So, you know, it's not a big deal, number one. Number two, it's reality in the world we live in, that
Right.
someone's going to say, you're not going to get my social, or this, that, and the other. Now, as you build a relationship, you may get it later. Of course, we're going to encourage the sharing of information, but it's not going to happen all the time. So we can always explain it when it's detailed to it. We still got some real bad.
Yeah, if you're not on mute, please do.
Please do.
Because somebody was creating feedback. Thank you.
Yes. So thank you. So just always answer the questions honestly. And again, a lot of times what starts out as a data quality error or refusal, as you're building that relationship, the client will eventually give it to you, especially if you're going to move them towards housing and you're going to have to, you know, do a housing history or whatever. You're going to need that social. So that'll quickly change that conversation most of the time. But thank you for that. Thank you for those who are joining us and have put your names in the chat box. But again, one of the things that you mentioned, Wally, and I can't reiterate enough, the questions that are answered when we're doing enrollments with clients, when we're doing reevaluations of clients, these are questions that are answered by the client. We don't make assumptions. We ask the question, even though we know Wally and we know what his answer was before. Excuse me, as we're doing those reevaluations, as we're doing those reassessments, we still ask the questions each time. It's really important because you know, things do change, and no person is the same today as they were a year ago, or let alone 2 years ago. Any questions about the data standard changes? And Wally, the links that you sent, we did provide back in September when we were preparing for these.
Okay.
So everyone did see them, but again, so that everyone has access. And we will share this with all HMIS users Wally's slideshow here. We will also post it on our website, and it will also be in our newsletter that goes out on this Friday. So we'll have all of that. Any other questions about data standards? Any questions about enrollments or those kinds of things before we move on to some talk about coordinated entry referrals and how starting next month, we're going to start a learning series where you guys are going to be able to pull much more or many more reports and stay on top of not only your data quality, but your referrals and your referral statuses and those kinds of things. Any other questions before we move forward? All right. Well, Kathy, if you have that that file up with the referral reports for November, if you can go ahead and share that, that would be great.
How do I stop? Okay.
Thank you, Wally.
Mhm.
All right, Miss Kathy.
Okay, I'm trying to get it there.
Okay,
Give me
cool.
one moment.
And these will be, we will be looking at the referrals that are sent from coordinated entry to your organizations through HMIS for the month of November. And again, and then we will individually, I had them separated and for some reason we didn't get them sent out. So we'll go ahead and send them out to you so you can look at your November referrals, make sure your actions are taking place on those, or in case something got overlooked or whatever, give you a chance to address it. But also to have a look at what the report looks like so that next month when we start doing the training, sending out the videos on how to do it yourself, you'll know what the end result's supposed to look like, and we'll be able to compare apples to apples.
Can you see my screen?
I cannot.
Oh, look at me go. I'm doing such a great job today. Okay, it's really not allowing me to.
Well, that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up real quick.
I have a question. This is Sandina with Salvation Army.
Uh-huh.
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
I just want to know what is the best practice as far as putting in help desk tickets. Now, is it, I've had a client open up in 3 programs, and I believe that's why we're getting an error message. Do I contact the 3 programs and let them know, or is it just best for me to just put in a help desk ticket through the HMIS to have them close out?
Okay, Sandina, Wally, I'm looking at you, though I can't see you. So Sandina, if you want to explain just a little bit more, you have a client who's enrolled in 3 programs at your agency?
They're open, yeah, they're open in 3 programs, mine and 2 other programs at the same time.
Okay, so hold on a minute.
Okay.
Are they the same programs?
Now, see, I don't know. Now, I don't know what let me see. Salvation Army, Moving to Work. Let me look at the client. One moment.
Okay. It's not, I'm not seeing where it is on the S-Drive.
While you're looking that up, I do want to say that, yes, if you try to enroll a client into either the exact same program or a very closely related program, like 2 emergency shelters, you will get a warning in the system. That being said, as a community, you may want to decide about how you want to handle that. If you want the agencies to talk to each other, or if you wanted to go through the HMIS lead or COC lead, whatever the case may be. I will say that in the past and in many communities I help, typically the agencies contact each other because a lot of the time it was only a matter of overlooking something, and they may have forgotten to enter an exit date.
So, and clarify, so we have this program this person opened up an HACG, ESG, which is us, and coordinated entry. Is that how it's supposed to be?
I'm sorry, Cindina. I apologize. I didn't hit.
It's
unmute.
okay.
Those three are different programs. So the housing authority is a voucher for a rapid rehousing program. Coordinated entry is the access point. And Salvation Army, are they in your shelter?
Yes, the ESG shelter. Yeah,
Those are three different program types, and that is not uncommon.
Okay.
So you're good to go.
Good deal. But I think that's where I'm getting the error message from. Somebody is not, I don't know if we're not all in sync or something. Anyway, we'll
you know what? Do me a favor. After this, if you'll stay on, we'll go over it together.
I appreciate that, Pat.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you, team.
Thanks. All right. Kathy came running down the hall and helped me to find what we were looking for here. So give me 1 second, guys, and I'm going to share my screen. You're going to see the report that we look at, and then we're going to drill down into some specific report, specific organization. So, okay, there we go. It's moving now. For the month of November, there was 130 housing referrals for from coordinated entry to different housing for housing providers. Grace House here does not mean the shelter. Grace House means the actually any of the housing programs under Chattahoochee Valley Jail Ministries, while the updates are being made through coordinated entry for referrals to direct programs and not organizations. It was listed as Grace House. So Wally, this is what I was talking to you about as we were doing that updates. Wally is creating each of our programs as organizations on the back end of the system. So referrals will go to specific entities within each of your organizations, because as many of us, have more than one program or one housing provider or housing program within our umbrella of organizations. So these are the referrals, and this is how they were broken down for as of referrals. This is the number, and this is the percentage. So if we will, here we go. I'm going to pick on us since we're here. These were the referrals that were sent to Home for Good in the month of November. There's a couple of things here that we want to point out. Number one, making sure that we have acknowledged each of those referrals. And the number one way of doing that is this column right here, this column K. And again, this will be part of the training that we do next month in what we call, now Wally's probably going to correct me because I get it backwards every time. This is a referral outcome. Correct, Wally?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And this is not saying they have moved in or anything. This is a way for us to acknowledge and say something's going on. For instance, you'll see here, this one was rejected, which means there would have been an Appendix J. This is a way too, guys, for you to do those Appendix Js, upload them, and not have to do an extra email and all those other things if you acknowledge this. And again, this will be part of the training. This one, all we could provide was information because of, for whatever reason, and the case notes would detail what that is. And the service provided would mean that that person's actively engaged and that, that referral is being worked. The idea is that going forward, each of us will be using this column or creating results that will show up on your end of month referral report so that you will be able, you will be able to look at it at a glance and go, wait a minute, there's a blank here and there's a blank here. We need to address those. And all of the other ones would have something in there so you knew that something was going on and that somebody was paying attention to it. That's number one. You know, making sure that we're addressing each one of the clients who's been referred is the first step to making sure that we meet their needs. Any questions on this? Anybody think this might be useful? It's a waste of time. Don't bother. What?
Pat, can you go back to all the agencies? Because I've seen House of Time on there and I didn't get any November referrals.
House of Time, it says 2. So what we'll do is I've got these pulled out and I'll send you yours individually, Tiff.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
And that's the way too. Did it get caught in your spam filter? Something. It happens. But again, rather than waiting for someone else to run the report or whatever, we're trying to build a system where we're constantly monitoring ourselves so that everything flows. And part of, you know, we do our data quality reports. It would be just as simple to run the referral report at the same time. Any other questions, comments about that? Does anybody think it's a waste of time and they don't want it? So that being said, Wally, would you speak a little bit about what you and I have talked about over the last couple of months when it came to some of the things that are anticipated to be coming down the pike when it comes to coordinated entry, performance, and reporting?
Yeah, so we have within our system already a coordinated entry pipeline, a process. Now that process allows us to pull out of our system of your HMIS actually it is a coordinated entry APR.
Mm-hmm.
That APR collects the information on the number of referrals you sent out, and not only where they went, but also what the result of those were. So essentially saying, were they successful? Did the client decline? Was the agency not able to serve them for whatever reason? That information is likely to become increasingly important as time goes on and could potentially affect community funding. The timeline on that is impossible to tell because HUD being HUD, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of that, because what Pat is saying will become increasingly important in the coming months, year. Like I said, we don't really have a timeline, but it is becoming increasingly important and also going to impact potentially your NOFA, your notice of funding.
Okay, so if I can piggyback off that, for those of you who have participated either from a committee standpoint on our federal funding, our NOFA, or COC application, whatever we call it, or from a programmatic standpoint in doing and submitting applications, you'll remember the last couple years, we have already included in our scoring matrix, coordinated entry, participation, and compliance with policies and procedures. That is going to become more and more and more and more critical going forward. And as Wally said, this is looking at who received referrals, when they were sent, when they were acknowledged and enrolled, and what the outcomes are. So as we move forward as a community, it's important that we all be on the same sheet of music. That's why one of the reasons we want to move forward in the self-reporting for everyone, so that at any moment, Tiffany, you brought it up, so I'm gonna pick on you. Sandy can say, how many referrals did we get last month? And you can pull it up and show her. You can and you can show where things went from there. So this is just trying to make sure that we are ready for the changes coming forward, and we're trying to think ahead to how we can mitigate some of the issues Our COC at this point does not get coordinated entry funding. However, we anticipate next year's application, we will be applying for it, which means that everybody in the continuum must agree and must participate fully, or our community as a whole could suffer. So moving ahead, this is really, really, really important. And there'll be, I'm sure, more changes to coordinated entry going on, because HUD's had us do this for about 2.5 years now. Oh gosh, yeah, it's been over 2 years, almost 3 years. So I can anticipate that there will be some changes and some recommendations on how we apply some standards and some guidelines going forward. Any other questions about this before we move on? Okay. Couple other things. As I mentioned last, stop sharing that. If someone has not entered their name and agency in the chat box, please do so for attendance. Like I said, in January, we will start our year-long training, where each month some type of training will come out via either live session, Facebook Live, recorded training, and or combination thereof. We'd like for input on training and what the needs are, but we're starting out with what we're seeing are the most frequently asked questions. What are the main concerns individuals are having, and how can we streamline processes to make sure that programs are getting the information they need, and that you're getting data that you can make data-driven decisions from. Our continuum is obviously, like everybody else, always undergoing changes and expansions, and bringing on new folks, new organizations. Some of the old ones are not going to be doing what they've been doing in the past. So change is inevitable, and we will continue to work through it and work with it. In just a year, we have taken our continuum's data quality from a data quality error rate of more than 7% across the board to less than 2% across the board. I mean, that's absolutely a huge decrease in the number of errors we have. Everyone is comfortable in submitting their data quality reports on a monthly basis. People are drilling down to see where the errors were or are, how to correct them. So it's very, very promising. We started putting together our data quality initiative, and we have met the guidelines or the criteria for where we thought we would be by mid next year. So the HMIS committee is going to have to make some decisions here in the next couple of months, because it's time to take it up a notch, and we're going to be expecting a little bit more, but we're going to be able to provide a little bit more as well. Effective January the 3rd, when we come back from the Christmas holidays, Charles Jeffries will assume the role that Terry's been filling in our HMIS lead in our continuum. Terry is focusing on moving to work, emergency housing vouchers, and homelessness prevention. And Charles, with his background, just seems to be a natural fit. And him and Wally speak the same language, and they know what they're talking about. So we're going to let the two of those converse, and hopefully take our system and build upon it to make it even better. We would like to, by beginning of next fiscal year, we would like to be doing referrals for all providers, not just the housing. We would like to be able to have reservations in emergency shelters and make sure we do those referrals and those kinds of things. It's a lot of work, but we as a community, I think, can do it. And with some of our providers who offer some other social services, like to talk about maybe sending those referrals directly rather than having the clients call your number, call your number, call your number. This way we could start gathering that information up front too. And again, doing it through a standardized process that we already do with our online intake for 211. I don't have any other updates or anything else at this time. Wally, I don't know if you had anything else you wanted to cover before we start wrapping it up. Charles, I know Terry is over at the Housing Authority getting some folks some vouchers so they can start moving in. Tiffany, from an HMIS committee standpoint, did you have anything to address? We'll keep it open for, another minute or so before we shut everything down. And Cindy, if you'll stay on, we'll go ahead and go over your issue. And Alexis, if you're here, we can go ahead and cover your issue with your sign on as well. Once we have gotten Cindina taken care of. Anybody got anything to say before we head out of here?
Well, I do. I want to give you guys credit, especially Terry and Charles. And I really do appreciate y'all patience working with me and my crew here. So I thank you guys, and we're gonna get this. And like I told my crew here, we're gonna learn this together. So I just want to thank you guys.
Well, thank you, and glad to actually answer questions. We would much rather answer the questions and get it right than just keep moving on and act like it doesn't exist until it actually becomes a problem for everybody. So appreciate you trying to dig down and get to the bottom of it. I did fail to mention that after Friday, our offices will be closed until after the first of the year. Wally will be working most of the holiday weeks. I think a couple of days you'll be off, Wally, if you'll let us know what those are. So he'll be answering any urgent requests that you guys might have. That doesn't include duplicate clients or whatever. If you need to be unlocked or password changes, or there's some major other things, he will be able to help with those. But just the maintenance things we can handle when we get back after the first of the year.
One of the things that I did want to encourage you on, and also just to make sure that was understood. First of all, great job on data quality. Going to a number like that is great. I just want to make sure to encourage you to continue that trend, and also just to say that make sure you're entering real data. Don't think that you need to enter something just because it looks better than something else. If the client's reporting X or Y, put that in. Because because what we're looking at when we're looking at reports, it's what actually happened. How can we help improve the systems? HUD and its partners have been very open about saying that they rather look at the reality of the situation and report that to our governing bodies than to put an idealized version of it that everything's fine. Because we know working the front lines that it's not all fine. So just make sure that you're entering real data. If a client says they went to live with friends temporarily, okay, that's what they did. If the client just leaves your shelter, well, you don't know. And those are things that we can work with rather than trying to make up information and make up data and then have to explain why our numbers changed year over year after we did a data cleanup. So
Wally, that's an excellent point. And I have to say, we didn't rehearse this, but that this is very much what we say time and time again. In a perfect world, we have all the answers. This ain't a perfect world. And again, like I was saying earlier, you're gonna have a client who refuses, a client who was there last night, is not there this morning, you don't know where they went. All of those things happen. I'd much rather explain that than, oh, everything is perfect, only to figure out it's not. And in fact, Charles and I were talking earlier about some reporting and this and that and the other. I said, it's frustrating when people, say, oh, we don't worry about it. We just make it look right. No, we don't make anything look right. It is what it is. We report exactly what the client tells us or doesn't tell us, and that's all we can go on. And we can all stand on that proudly any day.
Right. But like I said, good job getting your data quality down. When I heard that, I was very happy about it because that's the hardest thing to do, to make sure that you're filling in your blanks and crossing your I's and dotting your T's. So that's all I really had to say. So Pat, if there's anything else from the rest of your team, I'm good.
All right, guys, anything else? We got about 30 seconds.
I just wanted to say, ending the year on a good note, I am expecting my first grandbaby. So if you try to reach out to me and I do not respond, then that probably means that I'm either at the hospital or holding the sweet bundle of joy.
So when's the baby due, Tiff?
She's due January 7th, but
Oh, so we're
she's
talking any time
literally-
now.
She's literally about to pop any day now. So excited.
That's exciting. Well, congratulations. There's nothing else, guys, and you're not Cindina or Alexis. If you will go ahead and drop off. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And we'll take it from here. Cindina, if you will hang on for just a minute, and you too as Alexis, I'm going to stop recording because some things we don't need to have recorded. So hang on one second. Let me stop this recording.